Hello everyone, welcome to our video tutorial about rows and columns. In this tutorial, you will learn how to insert rows and columns, how to delete some of these columns and the rows, and also how to modify these rows and the columns that are inside your worksheet while you try to manipulate your numerical data. To follow this tutorial, you can pause this video and type some data in your worksheet so that we can move together. It is important to learn how to insert the rows in the worksheet, how to delete the rows in the worksheet, and also how to modify the rows. When I talk of modifying, we are looking at adjusting on the size of the rows and the columns. So Excel gives us this opportunity to insert the rows and columns. Now, to begin, we would like to see how can we insert a row in a worksheet, given that we already have this data in our worksheet and we realize that we have forgotten some names or some data that we are supposed to insert in this worksheet. Now, to do that, we have to first of all identify where do we want to insert that row. So after identifying that, you can now go ahead and insert the row. We have to note that these rows appear above the selected ones. For instance, if we want to insert a row between this row 2 and row 3, where we see Dambasam and then Nambi Rita, we want another row in between them. What we do is to select the row below, because this program will know that we want to insert a row above. So to put that row between these two people, then you select the downer row or the row below. So you do that by moving this pointer at the extreme end. If this pointer appears, you left click once. After left clicking, we can now go on the home tab, but we shall move our pointer under cells group. Then we shall select this option for insert. So you left click once. When you left click once, we have this option for insert sheet rows. Then you just click on it once. When you click on it, a row is inserted and you can see it has some black borders. So this is our new row that has just been inserted. Every inserted row will always have this black border and this grayish background. Now you want to enter the contents in this row that you have created. What you do is to click on the first cell, left click once. So when you left click once, you have selected the cell where you want to start entering the data that you missed out. So now we can start entering the data that we missed out, and that was for a student called Mukasa. On our keyboard, we shall start typing Mukasa William. Then we talked about using the tab key to move to the next cell in a row. So we press the tab key and we type under mathematics, he had 92, then English 77, then biology he had 88, then physics he had 67, and then chemistry he had 76. Now we have all our contents entered. After entering this, just press on the enter key. On pressing the enter key, the cursor is automatically moved to the next row. What is important to note is that whenever you want to insert a row, you have to select the row below. Once again, we can try. We want a row between Nancha and Namutebi, so we shall select this row containing data about Nancha. So click once to select this row for Nancha so that our new row can be inserted above this row for Nancha or between Nancha and Namutebi. After the selection is done, we go to the insert option under the home tab in the cells group. So we click, then we say we want to insert sheet rows. You select insert sheet rows. So when you select, the row is what? The row is now entered or inserted into your worksheet. Now, if you don't want this row in your worksheet, then what you do is select it. First of all, let's click somewhere inside our worksheet. Now you realize that you don't want this row. What you do, you will do the same. Move to the margin. When that arrow appears, left click once to select the row. Then to delete it, we shall still go under the home tab, but we go to the cells group and we have this option for delete. So we click on delete option and the program will ask you, do you want to delete cells, delete the sheet rows, or delete the entire sheet? This is the entire sheet, but for us what we want to delete is the sheet rows. So we shall select the option for delete sheet rows. So you left click once. On left clicking, the previously selected row is deleted. After deleting the row you wanted, then this program will again select the row below the other one which was deleted. So here you can just click within your worksheet to remove that selection. You can delete as many rows as you want. For instance, if you don't want these two individuals to appear as part of your data, then you will go to the margin, but make sure you're in that row for those data you don't want. So since we don't want these two, we shall move. When that pointer comes, click, do not release the mouse button, move down to the next row you don't want. After the selection is done, you release the mouse button. Then the next step to do is to go under the home tab first of all, then in the cells group, then you select this option for delete. You left click once, then you select delete sheet rows. You click. So when you click on delete sheet rows, you can see the previously selected rows have been deleted. Then again, the program will select the two rows below by default. So what you do is just to click again in your worksheet to remove that selection. If you want the deleted rows to again appear in your worksheet, what you do is to use this option for undo on the quick access toolbar. So you click on it, then the other previously deleted rows will again appear. Now we can have a look at how we can insert the columns in a worksheet. In our previous tutorial, we said columns run vertically and they are identified by the column letters. So, with columns, unlike the rows, columns, when inserted, they go to the left of the selected one. What does this mean? This means that if we select this column for average, so let's move our pointer and click there to select. So if we select this column for average and we would like to insert a new column, that column will go to the left of this one. That means it will be inserted between this one and this one. So to do that, now that we have this selected column, we shall go and click on the insert option, which is found under the home tab. So we click. Then what do we want to do? We want to insert sheet columns. So we click on sheet column once. So when you click on it once, you see we now have a new column inserted in our worksheet. Just like the rows, even columns or the newly inserted columns will appear with this black border and this gray background. Now from here, you can click inside the column and insert the data that is missing. Now in this example, our missing data is for history. We shall type history. Then you can press the enter key to take you to the next cell below that column. Then we type 77. Then we type again 66, 59, 78, 77, 59, 59 again, then 44, and press enter to make sure that you are done with your inserting of the content. So what you have to note is that the columns will always appear to the left of the selected ones. For instance, once again, if you want a column to appear between physics and biology, you select this column for physics. So when you select it by left clicking, then you go to the home tab. Under the cells group, you will go to the insert option. So you click on insert option and select insert sheet columns. When you click on insert sheet columns, a new column will be inserted. If you don't want this column, what you do is make sure it is selected. Now that it is selected, you will still go to the home tab, but under the cells group, this time not the insert but the delete option. So we click delete option, and then what we want to do is to delete the sheet columns which we have already highlighted. If you click on delete sheet, it means you are going to delete the entire worksheet, which is not what we want. So we shall click on delete sheet column. When you click on it, the selected column will be deleted. The column to the right will automatically be selected by this program. So we just click inside our worksheet to remove this selection. So when you click, then the selection is removed. Now we can have a look at how we can modify rows and columns. In every new workbook, these cells and the columns together with the rows are set to default size. However, we can still go ahead and change the size of the columns. We can go ahead and change the size of these rows. For instance, we are looking at under this column for names, some of the names are half spelled. What does this mean? This means that some of these names cannot be accommodated in these cells or in this column. They cannot be accommodated there simply because of the settings within this column, which we can change to ensure that we view all the names. So to do that, when you want to adjust the size of the columns, what we do is move to the column letter heads here where we see these letters. So in between these two columns, we have this column border. When that feature appears, we shall click, hold. Click, hold. Then to adjust or to widen this column, we shall move our border towards the right hand side slowly. Then we can first of all drop it there. So if you see these names are not yet fully visible, we go back again to the border, click, hold, then move, and we stop there. After adjusting, we can see we have all the names visible. So adjusting on the size of the columns, we use these column borders. We can also adjust the column settings in another way, and to do that, we are going to undo these changes. So we just use the undo button to take us back to our previous setting. So to change the column settings or to modify this column area so that we can view all the names properly, we shall move our pointer to the border of this column for the names and column for mathematics. So when that shape appears, simply double click on the left click button. When you double click on the left click button, we see the column changing. We can also adjust on the size of the rows. So with the rows, you will go to the margin, and also when you see that shape, that means you can now change the size of the rows or modify. For instance, let's move our pointer to this first row. Between row 1 and 2, we go to that border. If we see that shape, we are going to click the left click button, hold, then move to widen that row. After, release the mouse button. We can see now the size of this row is different from the size of the rest of the rows in our worksheet. I encourage you to be as curious as possible to work with Excel and try to find out other ways how you can insert the columns and rows, how you can delete the columns and rows, how you can modify them, because there are many other ways we can do that. That's it for now. See you in our next tutorial.